This is Capital Games. I'm the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero. It is almost a new month. This is January 31st as we're talking. Almost a new month, so that means we got to go through the new releases of next month for February 2023. This is a stacked month, man. And this was the same last year too. But the thought I had last year was, due to the pandemic and all the delays that happened, that makes sense. I wasn't expecting it to be this stacked again this year. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a bit interesting to kind of see that we've got a pretty heavy February, so I'm kind of excited to see some of the stuff coming out, and it kind of goes without saying, we're starting this year with a bang.
Yeah, definitely. Not only do we have a bunch of big games coming out, we also have hardware coming out this month. So let's get down to brass tacks first. I'm going to start with ports first, and we're going to do them real quickly. There's a PS5 port of Football Manager 2023, and there is a port of Returnal for PC on February 15th, and there is a port for the Switch for Tales of Symphonia Remastered on the 17th. And if I'm looking at anything else, that's it. Yeah, those are the ports.
To clarify, the Tales of Symphonia port, it's also coming to PS4 and Xbox One as well.
Oh, wow, the gamer has us wrong then, because it only has it for Switch. Oh, and there's another port. Another port for Digimon World Next Order for Switch and PC. That's been on PS4 for 8 years, so that's a weird port. So those are the ports that are coming out this month, right now. There are more, but that's going to go into the new hardware coming out as well. Anything of the ports that you want to talk that is interesting?
I guess this one's not so much a port, but more kind of a remaster.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is coming to Switch on the 24th.
Right.
And I believe that's a remaster of the Wii game, I believe.
Yes. Wait, Return to Dreamland? I thought that was a Game Boy Advance game. No, you're right. Because I remember that because that was an expensive game for a while.
In my opinion, that's kind of one of those things that I kind of see as it's not exactly a port per se, but it is kind of like a remaster port-ish sort of a situation.
Right, and I was going to keep that separate because it was kind of a remaster, but I get why. Yeah, but we can talk about it now. It's coming out February 24th. Kirby's last game was the Forbidden City, or was it the Forgotten City? I'm sorry. And that ended up doing pretty well, but I don't think people... I remember Star Allies didn't do so hot when it came to sales. Well, actually, no, that's not true. It did well. They wanted more from that sale. I don't think Return to Dreamland Deluxe will bring back the 2D Kirby's as to being popular again. So unless they do a lot of different things in it that I'm not expecting. But other than that, not too excited for that, really.
Yeah, overall, it seems like a neat thing. I think it's great to see that it's coming out on Switch, considering how you just mentioned the fact that for a while it was really expensive on hard copy for Wii, especially because, well, in my opinion, I think it became a little bit of a collector's item. So yes, I'm always all for more accessibility for things that end up becoming, I guess you could say, collector's curiosities. So definitely happy to kind of see this one get another chance to be more widely accessible.
And I agree with that, usually. With that specifically, the only issue that I would have is that it's $60. There's no reason that a 2D Kirby game needs to be $60 unless they add a bunch of new stuff to it. Like, that's still too expensive, but okay.
Yeah. I forget what Nintendo mentioned, but I think that they said that this one is getting a bunch of quality of life stuff, so who knows.
And Life is Strange 2 is coming to Switch on February 2nd. That's another one. Just so I don't miss that, but yeah. Those are the ports that are coming out this month. Let's start with the new games, and we're going to start with Deliver Us Mars, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. This is a survival game that is a sequel to Deliver Us the Moon. I don't know if you remember that game.
I don't, unfortunately.
I don't either. So this is going to be great for both of us on this one. I'm not a survival game fan. I know you kind of are, depending on the game, but
Yeah.
this really hasn't garnered my interest. I'm looking at images of it right now, and nothing is impressing me, really. But then again, it's a survival game. It's not my bag. So I guess if you are a fan of Deliver Us the Moon, and you want a survival game, this might do it for you. Other than that, I got no more else to talk about here.
I unfortunately don't know too much on the game either, so I wouldn't be able to talk much on it myself.
So let's just move on to the next one. February 10th, which I think is going to be the biggest game of not only of this month, but I think of the quarter. It might also be the biggest game of the first half of the year. Hogwarts Legacy, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PC. Sales have already been huge on this game. Is selling out on PC. Well, not selling out, but it's selling enough where it's in the top 10 every week when it comes to Steam charts. There is excitement for the Harry Potter brand. People love Harry Potter, young kids especially. Some adults do as well. I was a fan of the movies, so I am looking forward to playing this. There is other tangible issues with the game that has nothing to do with the game that, I don't know. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to gloss over it?
It's a bit on the political side, so it's a bit of a hot button topic. Just the only light touching I would really say is that for those who are wanting the game to be less popular, pro tip for you guys: don't talk about it.
Bingo.
Just what you're doing is the Streisand effect, and that's why it's getting so much attention, because everyone keeps opening their mouth and talking about it, and of course what happens? It gets put back in the limelight. So you're basically doing free marketing for the game. So do you want it to fail? Shut up.
I wouldn't say shut up, but honestly, if you are one of the people who do not want to succeed, or you think people shouldn't play it, just state your purpose, state why, and then leave it there. And then people who believe in what you're saying or agree with you will go in tow and will also agree with you and might not do it. That's fine. That's perfectly fine with me. And I respect those who want to... Oh, we are getting into it. I respect those who, for decisions that are personal to them, that they're sticking by their convictions and not purchasing this game. I get it. That's fine. I respect it. The issue that I have is shaming others who don't. That is where I'm like, yeah, you're defeating the you're really hurting yourself with that. So that's where I have the issue. But other than that, you're right. It's been a huge Streisand effect. It has led to the game not selling out again, having high sales on sites like Amazon, Steam. It is poised to be probably one of the best-selling games of this year. It might be the best-selling game of this year if Zelda does not come out this year, which I think Zelda is confirmed to come out this year. On that note, I mean, that's it really. Like, I want to play it, but I am on a strict, I don't spend $60, $70 on a game diet. I just don't do it anymore. So I will wait until it drops in price probably, but I am looking forward to it. I want to play it, and when I get the price that I want, I will probably snatch it at one point. But I don't know. Are you a Harry Potter fan or not?
I've read a few of the books many years ago. I thought they were interesting for kids' books, but for me, it wasn't like anything like the pinnacle of high reading or anything like that. Because I know some people have a lot of love for the Harry Potter books that they read as a kid, or that they're revisiting because they have kids of their own, and their kids are now reading the same books that they read. So I get the love and everything. Just I'm just kind of ambivalent either way. I'm just like, if the game stands up on its own, great. Just love to see it, because I think it's in kind of like the MMO genre, and I mean, we all know that the MMO space is just kind of being dominated right now by Final Fantasy XIV.
It's not an MMO. I would say more along the lines of it's a Skyrim of sorts.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a fair take, and I think Avalanche Studios is behind the game, so
yeah,
they've got a pretty good track record with games like Just Cause and stuff like that. So this sounds like this is just more stuff within their wheelhouse. So hopefully the game turns out as good as everyone's hoping it to be.
Yeah,
I do feel sorry for staff over at Avalanche because they're sort of caught up in the middle of this whole thing too.
Right.
And I think the directors had to come out and say, hey, just this has been one of our passion projects. We're a little bit dismayed to see, just this game being turned into a hot button topic. But, just at the same time, we understand just why things are doing it. But, please don't shame others into not playing or buying this game just because you choose not to, or something to that effect, I believe.
Right. Yeah, that's really a bad place for those guys to be in. But the thing with me is the thing that will make me not buy this game is if the game sucks. Like, if the game's bad and it's not getting good reviews, I'm not touching it. Like, I'm not spending money on this. That's the only thing with me here. Other than that, it's gonna sell really well. I think this will be the biggest selling game of the month. I think it's probably of the quarter. I think it will be the biggest selling game.
I'll be curiously watching it to see how it does, because I'm personally just kind of curious on just how it'll do, especially with just all the talk on the game, be it for better or for worse.
Next one, February 14th, Valentine's Day. What better Valentine's game there is than Labyrinth of Galleria, The Moon Society, PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. I think this is a sequel to Labyrinth of Coven. Have you heard of that game?
Yes, I've played the prequel game. Kind of dark humor-ish. It's a bit old-fashioned. It's a dungeon crawler, so I mean, if you're kind of into dungeon crawler type games, then you'll probably have fun with this. But if you're not into that sort of thing, then this is probably going to be one to skip for you. I will say that the game does have, or the Labyrinth of Coven, I think, is a bit on the difficult side, because
oh yeah, they're definitely.
I know when I was starting off, I think I ended up walking into a real bad room, and I was just like, oh god, I fucked up, haven't I?
No, and those dungeon crawler games like Wizardry, I think that's where it's kind of aping its gameplay. They're meant to be tough, so that's not a surprise to me. I have Coven. I've played it. I liked it a lot. It is a tough game. I'm looking forward to seeing how this one is, though I'm not really in the mood for one, So this will probably be another wait for sale, or if it turns out to be really good, I might pick up. But other than that, it's interesting, but I'll get to it when I get to it. Again, on February 14th, Blanc. Switch and PC. Do you remember Blanc?
No.
This was on a Nintendo Direct. It's a monochrome game where you play as a fox and like a wolfling, I think. And it's a puzzle game of sorts. Once you see it, you'll recognize it. I know you will. This was on a Nintendo Direct. Basically, it's a puzzle game. Think of it like an environmental version of, I don't know, of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, where you control two characters and you solve puzzles, is essentially what the game is. And what stands it out is it's all in black and white, and one character is all black and the other one's all white. You play
yeah, that's right. You played the fox and the deer, I think?
Yes, there we go.
That one had a very interesting animated style to it. It'll be real interesting to kind of see. I'm not really kind of the biggest person on these sort of like co-op narrative things, mostly because I don't have someone locally around me that would be willing to play these kind of games. So yeah, definitely going to be curious to see how the sales end up for this, because just I think these sort of co-op games are kind of cool and interesting, but again, just I don't think that they're particularly strong sellers for the most part. So yeah, just definitely going to be curious to see how this one sort of pans out.
Depending on the price, I think it might sell okay. But this hasn't gotten a lot of talk since it was shown off on that Direct in, I think it was September. You would need to remind a lot of people that this game is coming out If it turns out good, I mean, it's cute enough where a lot of people who are like, I would say the more calming type of games, that they will probably enjoy this and want to play it. So, yeah, I think this will sell okay. Let's get into February 16th. Theatrhythm, Final Bar Line, PS4, Switch. Why is this not coming out on PC? That I find weird.
Square's always been really cagey about some things being able to arrive on PC and everything.
Huh. Okay.
Call me weird, but I personally think Square may have some weird, unfounded concerns that just people are going to pirate the shit out of it or try to modify the game in a way that it plays tracks that they don't approve of or some sort of BS. Or maybe it's a music agreement sort of thing with the Japanese Artist and Recording Association, JazzRack, because I know they can be kind of cagey like the RIAA is with American music. Maybe that's what's going on. To be completely honest, I just don't know.
When was the last Theatrhythm?
It was on 3DS.
Okay, so that makes sense. I thought I remember the last Theatrhythm being the last one, from what I remember. But
yeah, it was called Curtain Call.
Right. That I'm kind of surprised, but I guess not really, that they decided to re-release it for modern consoles. I think this will sell pretty well. Like, the Theatrhythms weren't big sellers, but the amount of songs they're going to have on this, and this being probably the final one, I think this will sell pretty well. So
yeah, and I believe that they're even adding music from 7 Remake as well too. So
okay.
If you buy the Deluxe version, then you also get the new songs that they're adding in via Season Pass. And I think the Deluxe version is like $80 or $90 or something like that. It's a little pricey, a little bit spendy, but you know, if you're a person who absolutely adores Final Fantasy music, then you're probably gonna be excited enough to throw down some cash for this one.
I think if you're a fan of that game and you kind of want to put your 3DS away, and that might be a bunch of people actually, you might want to pick this up. So that's Theatrhythm Final Bar Line, February 16th, PS4 and Switch. February 17th, something I think we both are interested in. Wild Hearts, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. No, oh wow, I didn't realize it's not in the older consoles. Okay.
Yeah. That was what shocked me during the initial announcement, that it was confirmed it is not going to 8th gen consoles, so PS4 and Xbox One will not be eligible to play this game.
Ever since Monster Hunter World, I want new Monster Hunter-like games, and this does look interesting. I haven't heard much of preview coverage for this. Have you?
Yeah, there was the preview event that they did, where it was just a short video of them posting, hey, so, you know, we're going to go into more on how the weapon mechanics work, and also here's kind of some more interesting demos on how the building element of this game works and everything. And it was showing, like, you know, you could build zip lines, you could build like vaulting platforms and all sorts of other stuff, but they didn't really elaborate too much on just how like this how the story is set up, or any sort of like really just interesting details that some people who might like story related details care or whatnots. But yeah, just all in all, I will be curious on it, because I just think having to manage building stuff in addition to all the monster hunting combat, that it's going to be a little chaotic. I mean, yeah, it looks super slick in the demo videos that they've shown off, but I mean, as we've all seen, everything can look slick as hell in a little demo video, but that doesn't mean that just the game is completely invincible to any sort of issues or problems that it could have.
Right, and that is all true. Like, you can make anything look really good in a trailer. I think the fact that EA is backing this is interesting. Yes, I think EA backing this is interesting. Other than that, like, I'm optimistic and I want to see what this is like, but the fact that we are, now 2-3 weeks away from this being released and we've heard nothing is kind of concerning. Either this might be a delay, or they will do, I don't know, maybe they'll have the preview coverage a couple weeks beforehand, or...
I'm a bit curious myself, but yeah, just I don't think it's a Game Pass game either. I would love to just check it out via Game Pass or something.
Right. There is crossplay in this, so that's also good. But yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm interested. I know you are. On the other hand, like, again, I'm gonna wait and see what the reviews are like to see what it is. It doesn't have me that excited, so that'll be interesting. I don't think this sells very well, to be completely honest. Unless the reviews are fantastic, I do not think this sells well.
It's going to take a bit of a miracle for this one to be just an amazing seller, mostly because it is a new IP. I know Koei Tecmo has gone out of their way to say, hey, we know this looks like Tokiden, but we assure you this is not a Tokiden sequel. And I know some people were a bit disappointed hearing that bit of news, but once again, I get it, because some people really, really like Tokiden. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see that EA is backing this, especially since I figured this would have just been something real niche, because really niche and just relegated to Koei Tecmo doing it themselves, but apparently EA wants to back this one, so we'll see what turns out. But yeah, I thought it was just kind of interesting for them to back this one, because it's mostly Japanese centric sort of like setting, to say the least. So not something that I typically expect out of EA, but again, I kind of welcome interesting games, so most certainly not opposed to it.
Speaking of interesting games, February 21st, Like a Dragon, Ishin! PS4,
yes.
PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PC. This is the spin-off of the old Yakuza games, but
yeah,
we discussed. Go ahead.
It's interesting if you have a love for Japanese history, because this takes place during the era where the Shinsengumi, the Japanese secret police in the feudal days, were essentially like one of the strongest forces in the era and everything. So, and it's neat because it also transposes a lot of the Yakuza characters into the roles of these historic characters in Japanese history. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who's interested in Japanese history being remixed, then this one might be kind of fun for you. If you're a Yakuza game fan in general, then this will be fantastic for you, because this will be the first time the game has been officially localized, especially because of the fact that when it originally came out, it was a launch PS4 game. Sega basically had said, yeah, we honestly don't have any plans to translate this, so best of luck to you if you're interested, but just don't expect us to translate this, because we think the material's just way too niche.
I am interested in this game. I've of course been interested in the Yakuza games, and the fact that I can dive right into this without really getting into any of the Yakuzas, I think is really good, and I might pick this up. In sales, I think this is going to struggle big time, and mainly because they decided to give it the Like a Dragon thing and not the Yakuza branding. I know that they are going to turn everything Yakuza now into Like a Dragon, and I think that's going to hurt sales in the end when it comes to this. Yakuza, in the States at least, is, I think, well known enough where if you see a Yakuza branding, people will gravitate towards it and buy it. It might not be a big amount, but it's big enough. The amount of people who are going to know that Yakuza has now changed to Like a Dragon is smaller than that. So I think this will lead to, unless the reviews are fantastic, I think this will lead to some not great sales for Sega on this one. But I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what this is like.
And interestingly enough, I believe Sega has said that there have been a lot of people begging for one of the PS3 period piece games, Like a Dragon Kenzan, which was a PS3 exclusive. People have been begging for that one to be translated to English, and I believe during an Asian gaming press event, some folks from the Like a Dragon team actually had came out and said, hey, we can't promise anything, but all we can say is if sales for Like a Dragon Ishin are pretty strong, then we have no issue with researching the idea of potentially translating Kenzan as well and giving it sort of the remastered treatment. Again, in my mind, that's kind of interesting, because that would mean yet another historical sort of parody game in the Yakuza series getting a translation as well too. And if you were to talk to me many years ago and say, hey, some of these niche Yakuza games are going to get translated, I probably would have laughed and said, yeah, sure, when pigs fly. But to think that we might potentially have that happen is kind of an amazing thing. And again, just they say that it's hinging on Ishin sales, but I mean, we've seen stranger things before, so just wouldn't be something too crazy if Ishin reviews well and just gets some insane sales numbers. But yeah, just this one, in my opinion, it might see low sales just because of the setting being kind of more in the historical sense, and not many Western folks are acquainted with Japanese history. So I think that's where you might see low sales. But I know they've been working themselves pretty hard on social media to make sure that people are aware that the brand is going from Yakuza to Like a Dragon to unify itself with the Japanese branding, and that anyone who is looking for the action-oriented Yakuza games will have to look to the Judgment series for their action.
February 21st as well, Atomic Heart, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PC. I don't know much about this, to be completely honest. I know that Xbox has been showing this off on some of their streams, but other than that, I don't really know what this game is. Do you have any idea?
Honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Just I've seen some of the streaming events and some of the trailers, but I just don't know much about it either.
It's a first-person action role-playing game. Okay, that still doesn't say much.
Yeah, I think it's kind of neat that you can adapt your fighting style depending on the opponents you're facing off. But yeah, just other than that, just there's not really much that they've talked about other than, hey, look at this cool gameplay footage. You can change out your skills and weapons and mods and just customize yourself in whatever way you need to adapt to the mission that you're in or whatever.
Yeah, so not much we can say about it on this one. Whether it's going to sell well depends on how the reviews are, if it gets good word of mouth. But other than that, I'm not seeing much on this one. I think this will go by pretty quickly.
The next game is Blood Bowl, coming out to pretty much everything. So PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S, and that's February 23rd.
And the Switch.
Ah, okay. And Switch as well.
And PC. Yeah. It's coming everywhere. I love Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is a lot of fun. They are charging $30 for this, but they are gonna stuff this sucker with a bunch of microtransactions. I already know that for a fact. I will say this: the tactical gameplay on this is fun. It is a very fun game. If you're interested in, I would guess, strategy RPGs, but disguised as a medieval football game, this is a lot of fun. I definitely enjoy this type of game. I'm not sure I'm buying this, only because I don't know exactly what it offers that 2 does not already have. I'm going to wait for reviews on that more than likely, but if it gives more than 2 does, I might pick it up. But other than that, there's a niche following that definitely follows Blood Bowl and likes the Blood Bowl games, so this will sell all right, I think. But I think enough for it to support itself, but it's not going to be a big seller. But I'm looking forward to it.
The Blood Bowl games have always been interesting. It's and I think you summed it up best, that it's essentially just a tactical strategy game just disguised with a football skin on it, and kind of makes it charming that it opens up the accessibility too, because I imagine some people who might be real familiar with football might end up kind of taking a shine to the fact that it seems like a football game on the surface, but then once they dive into it and see just that it's got much more than just a football skin on top of it, that there is a strategy game underneath, that it might win them over on just kind of getting them to try it out and everything.
It is interesting. If you're a strategy RPG fan, I would say give it a shot. Again, The only thing that's keeping me from purchasing it outright is I don't know what the microtransaction aspects are going to be on this game. So if it's going to be loaded with that in battle passes, I might hold back, but this might be an instant purchase for me. Let's move on. Company of Heroes 3 PC. They are developing a console version of this game, but it's not ready. But this is just going to be the PC version. Are you familiar with Company of Heroes?
No, but I think I've gotten a few of the past games in like a Humble Bundle or something, and it's always been one that I've just kind of put on the back burner, needing to revisit it, and I just never do.
I am shocked they made a third one, to be completely honest with you. They're great games. They're great RTSs. But even when RTSs were a big thing, this was a niche game back then. This was an RTS that was more tactical and was more worried about your positioning than be overpowering people. The way that the games worked is you would have a finite amount of troops and you'd have to take missions on. And basically, you had to position your guys well for suppressing fire in order to take out enemies in certain areas. And that tactical gameplay is what made it unique. But RTSs have not been a thing for so long. And even people who were into RTSs are now MOBA fans, or they're into other types of genres now. I'm surprised they've made it, and I'm going to be very surprised if the sales are good on this. Like, I would not be shocked if this game is half off a month or two from now, after this is released. Not because it's bad. Well, if it's bad, yeah. But not just because it's bad, but because it doesn't sell. Company of Heroes is a game that, when released, they taxed PC systems. These were graphically intensive games for their time. So fans will probably be expecting those, but shouldn't. So again, I'm just surprised that they've gone on and released another Company of Heroes, is my thing.
Definitely sounds like it's a niche of a niche.
Yes.
And unfortunately just that never pans out too well. So yeah, I'll be astounded if it somehow makes the sales that it's looking for. But again, just best of luck to them. That's all I can really think of.
I would be surprised if it makes its money back. And I don't know the budget, but from the way those past games were, they were expensive to develop because they did tax systems and require like a lot of graphical power. Unless they decide not to do that this time, I think this will be a niche of a niche and will not sell as well. Next up, Octopath Traveler 2 coming to PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. Octopath Traveler 1 was a Switch exclusive, and then it gradually released on other systems. It's good that they're releasing the second one on a vast majority of systems, I would say, on this one. A lot of people really liked Octopath Traveler 1. I liked it too, although I had some issues with it. It having a second one is not a surprise, and I think this will sell pretty damn well when the time comes. So
I'm kind of with you on this. It's great to kind of see that they're opening this one up to more platforms. So good on them for doing that and everything. But yeah, just for anyone who quite enjoyed the previous Octopath game, this is just going to be pretty much more of a good thing for them.
They're still developing the HD 2D version of Dragon Quest, right?
Yes, I believe it's Dragon Quest III was what it was. That one will be interesting to see as well too.
And these HD 2D games have been selling pretty well. I mean, I heard that Live Alive didn't do so bad. And Live Alive was a very niche game. So the fact that this art style specifically is leading to more sales is a good thing, I would say, unless Square Enix really just rams in more of these games unnecessarily. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens with that when it comes out on the 24th.
I agree with you. Just it's kind of interesting that these sort of HD 2D games are landing solidly, to be honest. So yeah, just I expect Octopath 2 will be just more of the same, and just HD 2D fans are probably going to be ecstatic.
Moving on, also on the 24th, Kerbal Space Program 2 for PC. Now, I wasn't a big fan of Kerbal Space Program 1, and not because I thought it was bad, because I couldn't wrap my head around it. What it was dealing with, I couldn't get into. So I don't think it's a fault of the game, but I guess because I'm not interested, I haven't heard much more about it. Have you heard more about Kerbal Space Program 2 at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
I had a few friends locally who were very obsessed with the first one.
Oh, okay.
Like, to the point that they would try to build the most absurd rockets and just see what happens, not even just focus on the main objective of the game, which was get the Kerbals to the moon and everything. So they would do things like, all right, so I'm going to add, a shit ton of thrusters, and this thing is going to, do an insane speed of like this much thrust, and we're just going to, improvise and see what the fuck happens. And then, of course, they would end up like doing something where just the rocket flies, somehow inverts itself and then crashes itself into the earth or something. And then they would just go, okay, neat. So yeah, if you add too much thrust and have these parameters set this way, things happen. Neat. And that was kind of what I really saw most people do, just play around with the game as kind of more of a physics sandbox, if any.
I couldn't get into it, but there is a dedicated fan base for that game that I think is going to be really excited by this. I'm just surprised I haven't heard much more on it, but I guess that fan base is excited. So that comes out the 24th. I think the last game that we should talk about here is Destiny 2 Lightfall, coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. I have abstained from Destiny 2, so why don't you go ahead and talk about it, Zero?
Pretty much just new expansion. They're going kind of into the cyberpunk aesthetic, so just lots of neon colored lights and things like that. So if you're into that aesthetic, super neat. And I believe they're also going to be introducing some new class divisions. So, if you want to experiment with builds more, then there'll be more to experiment with. So just kind of more of a good thing if you're a big Destiny fan. If you're not, then as usual, this expansion is probably not going to do much to sell you on it. I think what is going to be interesting is I personally wonder where on the cycle this will be, if this is going to be the bad part of the Destiny cycle where everyone just goes, nope, I hate this game is awful, I refuse to play it, and then just Destiny goes into a dark period, or if it's going to be still part of the grand honeymoon period that everyone's happy, everyone's excited about the game and everything, because that's been my experience with Destiny. It always comes in cycles where you have the one moment where everything in the game is like the best in the world, and then something happens via patch update. The game just ends up being no more fun to play. Everyone drops, and then things suddenly change, and then everything's hunky-dory again, and everyone's playing the game, and then you just kind of wash, rinse, and repeat. It definitely will be curious to see where things stand in the game. For anyone who is a hardcore Destiny fan, I hope that this is everything you're looking for, and I hope that this is the good period, because I had to quit Destiny 2 after a long while, because it just felt like being in an abusive relationship.
Yeah. I love the gameplay of Destiny, but when they started taking things out of it that I paid for, I was like, yeah, I'm not supporting this anymore. And until I get that stuff back is basically why I am not playing it anymore. When I get that stuff back, then I'll be back. But other than that, I ain't.
Yeah, because I think last year in one of their conferences about just the future of Destiny 2, they did announce that, hey, we realized we did it bad by taking things away from you, so we're going to be reevaluating things and going to move towards a future where, we aren't taking things away from you. And of course, to the majority of other people in the world, it was like, well, duh, you shouldn't have never taken it out in the first place. The hell's wrong with you guys? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I totally get it.
Yeah, and it's great that they're not doing that anymore, but I still want my stuff back. And if I'm not getting that back, I'm not coming back. So that's it with me on there. So that is Destiny 2 Lightfall, February 28th, all systems. The last thing we're going to talk about is hardware this month, and this is coming February 22nd. I don't know if you remember this, but the PSVR 2 is coming out this month.
Yeah, I still remember, especially since back in November I was getting pre-order emails from Sony saying, oh, wow, hey, by the way, you're eligible to do a PSVR 2 pre-order, and we're basing it on the fact that, you have a PSVR 1 headset and you have quite a number of games in your PSN account. So yeah, we're doing this invitation because we'd love to invite you to try out PSVR 2 and, just put some actual book time with it. And I was just like, okay, well, yeah, that's nice, but I'm not paying the equivalent of my console to get it because, that's a lot of money to drop.
Right.
And of course, they've been kind of going hard with the marketing messages, and I've gotten several other invitations over the last 2 months to also put my pre-order in. And of course, I look at the emails repeatedly and just go, yeah, I'd love to, but I don't really quite have the luxury of being able to toss $200 around or $500 around just to go grab this new headset. And I want a game with it. I'll have to pay about $550. Okay, well, once again, I don't have $550 laying around either, Sony. Yeah. So yeah, I don't really think I'm going to be throwing that kind of cash around. It is interesting that some developers are doing essentially PSVR 2 remasters of their games.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand from seeing some of the games that are providing free upgrades, the only condition being you just need to run into your account and claim the game, is that Sony is leaving it up to the developer whether or not they want to provide a free upgrade path or not. So it's definitely going to depend on the developer if they go, oh yeah, sure, you can have a free upgrade, or if the developer's just like, we don't really make that many games, so we need all the revenue we can get. We're not offering free upgrades. And in my mind, it just gets me wondering just how many people will be upset depending on like which games are getting the upgrades and which games are not getting the upgrades. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting, especially since I think one of the most beloved of the PSVR games for the first model one was Job Simulator, was one of the early beloved ones. I'll be curious if that one is getting an upgrade or not, and I know it came out with a sequel called Vacation Simulator, so I'll definitely be curious if Alchemy Labs is providing an upgrade path for some of their stuff. I just know that may be something that you might see some backlash over in the next couple weeks, just people groaning that, their favorite VR game isn't getting an upgrade or something.
I don't think it's gonna be that big of a backlash because I don't think a lot of people are buying this thing.
No,
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't know if you heard the reports, but apparently Sony is slowing down production of the PSVR 2 because it didn't reach their projections.
So it looks, at least from what it sounds like that they were trying to use their pre-orders as sort of a meter for projections, and I'm guessing maybe the pre-orders didn't hit their projections that they had internally.
Yeah.
So
they cut their forecast in half. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, they didn't sell as much as they thought they were going to. So now they are telling their stockholders that, expect half what we were expecting, which is bad. That's not good. Like, that is... I think what a lot of investors and a lot of analysts were saying is that the first run of PSVR 2 is going to sell pretty well, but unless they drop the price, that's all they're selling. And now it's looking like they're not going to sell well in their initial investment. So this is not good for Sony, but this is also something we saw coming, really, because the price of it is like outrageous for which is an accessory to a system that you need in order to play it. And I know some of you are like, I'm going to get a premium VR experience, and I have a PS5, so what's the big deal? It's like, you have a PS5. That's the big deal. What you want is for people to say, I want a VR experience, so I'll get the PSVR 2. Oh, wait, I have to spend another $550 in order to do this? Fuck that. No. And that is essentially what's going on, is that people are starting to realize, especially now that there are VR headsets out there that don't require an external PC or another system in order to run, which is the Meta Quest, right? And those are selling, they're selling well to a certain extent. People are going to expect that. And yes, I know you're getting more power in that VR headset, but it's not going to realize much sales. And it's starting to show earlier than I thought was going to be possible.
Hearing the news that Sony has now basically told their stockholders, hey, maybe let's not get too excited about the potential sales of PSVR 2. That really changes a lot of things because, yeah, just like you said, cutting your sales expectation in half is definitely not a good sign. And it sounds like, kind of like what I mentioned just a little while ago, maybe the fact that the pre-orders were not clicked on hard enough is likely the issue. And I mean, hell, I'll confess that that's half the reason I didn't go and say, yeah, sure, let me go ahead and pre-order it, because yeah, just $500 for just the bare headset, or $550 to get the headset and a game. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's insane. Especially when you need another piece of hardware in order to actually engage with the product. That is insane amounts of price.
The only counterpoint that even makes maybe some sense, but even then it's kind of limited in the amount of sense it makes, is if you're someone who wants to get into VR but you don't have a VR gaming PC. And in that case scenario, then sure, maybe it makes sense, because at that point you're paying less than you would to have a hand-built PC with a Core i9-13900 KF and a GeForce RTX 4090 and everything. I mean, yeah, sure, you can pay less than $3,500 for like a hand-built PC with those premium parts, but even then, to get sort of that premium experience, then you would have to buy something like a Valve Index headset, and that's, I believe, another $1,000. So that's already like, at this point, $4,500 to get a very good VR experience. And maybe at that point you just go, okay, PS5 and a PSVR 2 at a grand total of a little over $1,000. Okay, yeah, sounds reasonable enough to me. But even then, that case scenario is still very limited to just certain types of people.
The price is prohibitive, and the fact that you need extra hardware is prohibitive. And we're now looking at something where the most popular headset is not prohibitive at all. You just need the headset, and then you're good. Here's a question. When do you think they drop the price?
Ooh, that's a good one. Maybe if they don't see a sales swell within 3 months, they start planning for a price drop by the 6-month mark.
I think on that note, you're right in one aspect. I think that they're going to drop the price, but I think they will put an add-on in those systems. Well, they'll say, okay, you get this, and we'll give you, Resident Evil Village. Or if they really want to be cheap, Tetris Effect Connected. We'll give you a free game when you buy the system.
Yeah, they'll probably have to do like a major pack-in. Actually, now that you mention it, maybe I could see something kind of like what Nintendo had to do for the 3DS with the Ambassador program, that anyone who was an early adopter ended up getting like a bunch of free digital-only stuff. So maybe that's what they do for early adopters of the PSVR 2. Maybe they just go, okay, well, to apologize that we really didn't have, the killer lineup we were hoping to have, because we have investors who are now gun shy. Let's just say that, we're just going to give you a whole bunch of game vouchers to say, hey, thank you for your support. Thanks for, jumping in on this. And then, I don't know, just maybe a little bit after that, they do a price drop, kind of like what happened with the 3DS.
I think 6 months they'll do a pack-in. If by their end of the first fiscal year, if the sales are really disappointing, yeah, they'll drop prices. And they won't, but they'll still try to keep it premium. They'll be like, okay, we'll drop it $100. Where really, what they're going to have to do is really cut it in half, is what they're really going to have to do. But if the hardware is that advanced, I mean, they may not have a choice, and they would have to keep it the price it is. But I sense this being a bomb by the end of the year. Like, this will be one of the stories of, well, Sony may have had a good year in games-wise, but hardware not so well because the PSVR 2 bombed. And I'm seeing that happening.
I think if it doesn't take off like they're hoping, the PSVR 2 may end up being a collector's curiosity, especially if even after a price drop, it still doesn't move units, then yeah, I could see the accessory getting an early retirement, and then at that point just seeing a bunch of articles going, oh yeah, VR for consoles, it's a total fad. Why? Because headsets like the Meta Quest have done it better, and they've done it cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know if they will jettison the entire unit that fast. They supported the Vita for a couple of years until they dropped it off. So I think they'll at least do 2 or 3 years on that, but I don't think they'll just say, well, fuck it, we're done. I don't think they will do that. They won't put as much time as they should. Final thoughts of this coming month in February. Big sales, I think, is going to be, well, it's going to be Hogwarts Legacy. That's a given. I think it will also be Destiny 2 Lightfall. I see that selling a lot. Octopath Traveler 2 might be the other one.
Hogwarts Legacy is definitely a gimme. That's just kind of obvious between how much it's being talked about, both in positive and negative lights. Just really no escaping that. I think Returnal will be interesting to see on PC, especially since there have been a lot of people who've been in the camp of, I'm just not interested in getting a PS5, so, I just simply don't care. And the fact that it's getting a PC port, I think, is going to allow people who probably would have never considered getting in on Returnal to have the opportunity to play it on PC. I think Housemarque did announce that it's going to have crossplay as well too, which is great since the game did get the co-op mode sometime late last year. So, and for anyone who's played Returnal, it can be a brutal game.
Oh my god, yes, it is.
And I think the cool part is if you play it co-op, you get basically infinite reses, but it does require that both players are alive to do it, or one of the two players to be alive to do it. But yeah, just in co-op mode, pretty much the game isn't over until both of you are dead. So kind of a cool thing to see, but yeah, just I would say that one I will be curious to see. I don't think it's going to be a hot seller, but I think for me that's going to be more of a bit of a point of curiosity, if anything.
That is it for the month of February. It's going to be an interesting month. A lot of big games are coming out, and I am interested in what Ishin does, but again, when we talked about it, I don't think it's going to really do very well, but I'm looking forward to it. Is there a game that you're looking forward to that might not do so hot?
I don't think this one will be too strong of a seller, but I'll still be curious on sales numbers regardless. The Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, especially since I don't think it's sold too well on Wii, since it came out a bit late in the release cycle for Wii games, but since it sort of got its notoriety after the Wii was discontinued and became a bit of a collector's curiosity, I'm going to be kind of curious on where the sales sit for that one. Definitely looking forward to it because I think Kirby games are kind of nice and relaxing and just kind of low stress. So definitely very curious about it.
So you're interested in Kirby. I'm interested in seeing what Ishin does. I think Kirby might sell okay. I think didn't Star Allies get like 1 million copies, but they were still kind of disappointed by it?
I think so.
Yeah. So that will sell fine. But all right, well, that is it for the new releases for this month, and that is it for this episode of Capital Games. Tune in next time where we discuss the going-ons and happenings of the video game industry. I am The Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
And we'll talk to you next time. Bye. Thank you for checking out Capital Games, where we cover the business side of the video game industry. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed the video. You can also subscribe to the podcast if you prefer to have it on your podcast feed. And check us out on our socials and email us if you have a question, comment, or suggestion. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll hear from you next time.